As a dealer and a collector, you always have occasions where you own something or something that you bought, and at the time you buy it, you're not sure whether you want to sell it or not because you really, really like it, and you think this is something I want to add to my own collection. But then again, if you're a dealer and this is how you earn your income, you always have to consider the fact that if you don't sell things, you don't make money, you can't buy more things, and you have bills to pay, tuitions to take care of, mortgages, and all that other business, and it's a real difficult situation to be in sometimes. And sometimes you end up selling things that you very much regret selling, even if you got significant amounts of money for them. And I'm going to talk about a case in point to that I was able to get a second shot at the item or the type of item, and this one I'm not going to be selling. About 15 years ago, I was called over to a house in a town nearby here known as Wenham, Massachusetts, Wenham and Hamilton, actually. And in the house, they had I knew the family, they had a very significant collection of Asian art. I'd only seen parts of it over the years. It was an enormous house. They had stables and paddocks and all kinds of things. They were part of an old North Shore family, and they had all kinds of interesting things. And they called one day and said, we'd like to sell a few things because we're rearranging and doing things, and the kids don't want them, and that kind of situation. So I went over to the house and took a look. I bought a number of things there, some very nice Blanc de Chine pieces, early Blanc de Chine pieces, a very nice piece of Kangxi porcelain, which I had a customer for right away. And then there was, of course, this item here. And this was something that I saw and immediately just loved. It's a Ming Dynasty brush pot. It's beautifully done. It was wonderful color, beautifully carved, nice old, nice patina on it and all that business. And I bought it, paid pretty good money for it. And then I brought it back to my office, and I was contemplating what to do with it. And I decided, well, I have one collector in particular who I happened to be selling a number of things to at the time. He was a well-known collector of Ming furniture, also American furniture, but very rare American furniture, but also Ming furniture and Ming formal as well as vernacular. And he had an interest in scholars and table objects. And I got in touch with him and ran it by him to see what he thought. And he did want it. He immediately wanted it. And I felt committed at that point because I'd offered it to him and showed it to him. You never show anything to somebody, a potential customer, without, if you plan on keeping it, say right up front, I'm not selling this, but I thought you'd like to see it. That's one thing. But I didn't do that. And he took it, rightfully, is fair enough, he took it as an offer. And what do I want for it? And I sold it, ended up selling it to him for around $10,000. And this is it. This was 15 years ago. And I delivered it to him. He was very, very pleased. And that was the end of it. And I regretted it ever since. I regretted it ever since. Every time I own a number of brush pots, and every time I see a brush pot, I think, and then there was that one that I sold. And I have some good old ones, but this one I particularly liked because of the crazy carving on it and the style of it. It was about 6.5 inches tall, and that was it. I sold it, and it always haunted me in the back of my brain. And I thought, and I'd only seen one other like it, and it was in a collection of brush pots at the Palace Museum. They had one quite similar to this, very similar, and they dated it to the mid-16th century. So, at any rate, that was it. That was it. And then, a while ago, well, I got a video, and I'll explain what happened. So, around 8 months ago, I was browsing eBay one day, just looking at newly listed items, things that had just come on there from a few sellers from around the United States. and I came across this. It had only been online a short amount of time, but as you can see, it is virtually identical to the one that I had sold 15 years ago to the collector, and here was my second chance at buying another one. It's nearly identical in every aspect, except for the fact that it's a couple inches taller. The other one was 6.5 inches tall, approximately. This one is 9 inches tall, so it's actually a bit larger, which makes it even more interesting because of its size. It's a very, very big brush pot. It's quite handsome, nicely carved, good detail, and nice color all the way down. There's no damage of any kind. There's a few natural cracks in the bamboo, which you find on most old bamboo brush pots. But this one, other than that, is in great condition. And I don't have any plans on selling it or doing anything with it. It's just going to sit here in my little collection, and hopefully it'll be happy here. And I'm happy to have it. And sometimes you do get a second chance to undo a mistake. And this was one of my chances, so I took it, and I'm very pleased to own it. And so it goes. And for fun, I put together a few pictures to share with everyone just to get a better sense of it and have a good look at it. The color here is under photo lights that I have here. I brought some over from the office. So it's a bit warmer and browner than it is in person, just a little bit. But it does show the details rather well on it, and gives you everybody a chance to get a good look at the way it's carved, the color, and so forth. It's really, really well done, as you can see all the way around. And we'll do some comparisons at the end here. I'll show you the two side by side to give you even a better idea. Here's another shot of it. There's another shot of the side of it. And here you see the scales of the dragon going around it and so forth. And here's a shot of the back with the tails of the dragons going up in the air and so forth. And down here you see their claws and all this work. And the piece is obviously carved right through. This is fully reticulated. Here's a picture of the lid, or the top rather, with this little sort of zigzag carving pattern running about it. And then you have the bottom, which looks like this, fairly deep. It's very dried out in here. Somebody, I think, at some point, a long time ago, long before I got it, maybe have oiled or varnished it with something, but it actually preserved the color rather exceptionally. So I don't have a problem with that. I suspect it was probably done during the 19th century or something. And it had at some point an old paper label on it from somewhere. I don't know what the label said. It wasn't there when I got it. But the thing that's always interesting about old brush pots is that the older they get, the lighter they get, because these are plants that grow. They have tubules inside the walls of the bamboo by section, and they fill up with water. And then as time goes by, they dry out. And here are the two pots side by side. The one that I had sold, to my disappointment later, or to my regret, is the one on the left, and it was about 6 inches tall, and the one on the right is around 9 inches tall, 6.5 inches tall. This one is 9 inches tall, so it's about a third larger. It's a little bit wider, but other than that, there's no real appreciable difference between the two, except that, in minor details. Here you have a panel at the bottom. Here you have roux heads that are running around the base. But the tops are very similar. This one, they chip carved it with sort of this chevron-y pattern, and this one they chip carved with more of a V shape. They're very close, but slight differences. The interiors of both were beautifully finished and polished out, and the bases of both are essentially the same. The one on the left, the one that I sold, the bottom of it here looked like at some point it had been sitting in water or had gotten wet and remained wet maybe for a prolonged period of time. I don't know. It wasn't rotted, but it did discolor the base, and you can see here, while it was wet, some of there may have been some dried ink. There's some dried ink in the bottom of mine as well. But if the bottom of this got wet, the ink would wick through and end up turning up a little bit on the base, which is that's the way it goes. It's not a big problem, but the colors. This one on the left was shot in my office under a particular type of lighting, and this one was shot under fairly bright lights in my living room here. So it's a little bit lighter and browner than the one on the left. The one on the left is a little bit darker, but in the photos, in person, they'd be a bit closer in tone. But at any rate, that's the story of it, and I'm just so happy that I got a second chance because the collection that it went into, it's never coming out of it. At some point, the collection will probably end up in an institution, but now I've got the piece. I got a piece like it back. It's a good feeling, and I should have listened to my inner voice, my little voice on my shoulder when I sold it. But as I said at the beginning, if you're a dealer and you do this for a living, when you show things to collectors who you admire and that you like to do business with, that you enjoy their company, you want to be very careful how you approach sharing images. And in this one, I didn't say it isn't quite yet for sale or something. Just thought you'd enjoy seeing it. I didn't present it that way. And when he turned around and said he wanted it, then I was in the predicament of saying, well, I can't ask some crazy price, so he won't buy it because that damages your relationship with your customer. So you have to be fair. You have to be fair, and you have to say, this is what I want. And I think that's reasonable. And he got back to me within, as I recall, it was within hours, and said, "I want that pot." And I suspect he did some of his own homework on it, or he had his own curators. Actually, he still does. He had his own curatorial people look into it, and they decided it was a good buy, so they bought it, and that's fine. And I made some money on it and went on from there. But it always haunted me in the back of my head. Always haunted me that, and as a result, of that, a number of things I have here that I bought since, I've changed, I put it away and I don't offer it or show it to customers because I don't want to create a ill will between us, because collectors like to collect, as do I, and so sometimes I just tuck it away, and I have a number of things like this, and I just hang on to them because I like them and I enjoy them, and that's the way it goes. All right. I hope you found this interesting, and we'll do another one next week. But this is just one of the times you get a second bite at the apple, or a second chance, and I was very happy to get it. Okay. Bye-bye.